Chapter 20. The ground begins to shake again, and the pillars of the rotunda start to trickle dust. I move away, descending the stairs with haste, unsure if the place will come crashing down. I do not know where to go. Diana's spirit guided me this far, and now she is gone. I stand in a field of tombstones like a scarecrow lost to the crows of its cornfield. Another thunderous explosion. The air becomes thick with dust. I cover my mouth and nose, breathing through the cracks in my fingers, choking, gagging. I dare not look back as I break into a full run. A tombstone to my left explodes. Stones shatter away from it. I break to the right and the ground cracks, trailing along the floor quicker than I can move. I won't fall again. I leap as the ground crumbles away, just enough to clear the chasm, tumbling through the rocks and frayed roots. I catch my breath as I keep running through the growing dust cloud. The ground stops shaking, yet I keep running, my boots crunching loudly in the temporary silence. My gut churns. Something isn't right. Running only gets me so far. I am thrown to the ground like a doll. I feel the earth rising over itself as if I were on top of a giant platform, balancing on a sharp point. Swaying from side to side, I grab a gravestone, stopping myself from sliding. As the cavern floor rises on one side, the other dips down, sending rocks and stones tumbling past me. I feel a thunderous boom close by. It travels through my body, vibrating my bones. Looking over my shoulder, I cringe. A stone pillar twists and turns its way toward me, smashing through gravestones. Impact. The repercussion of stone on stone jars my clenched teeth, and I am forced to let go. The platform is like a plate held to a giant's mouth, tipped to make the food go down faster. I slide, twisting down the platform toward the dark opening, knowing my death is near. Descending, I wonder if this was all a trap, an illusion to distract me. I see Diana hovering before me, falling with me, her beautiful glowing figure staying by my side, but she is staring out into nothing. I hold out my arms to touch her, yet she has no reaction. They simply pass through her. Her body dissipates into smoke. Goodbye, my love. I was able to see your face one last time. Suddenly, my legs hit something solid, and they buckle, sending me into the endless spin. My face strikes a hard surface, and a streak of light flashes before me. I hit something again, and a rib breaks. What little air I have left in my lungs cries out in pain. Eventually, my tumble into darkness comes to a rough stop. My hands break through pieces of wood, and my knees scrape against an uneven floor. Coughing and choking, I can barely breathe, not like the ice-cold river from before, but from the condensed dust swarming around my face. It lingers like a cloud full of plague, with nowhere to dissipate. I feel the particles tickling the bronchi of my lungs. I cough again and again. Nothing but pitch black. My body is bruised and sore, but I feel everything is working in order. With no possible way of creating light, I am as good as dead. I sit in silence, listening to the last of the catacomb floor falling all around me. Rocks echo off one another, sand sliding along stone. Dirt hits me in the face. As I move, rubble falls off me as if I was buried alive. My lungs wheeze with each breath. Everything is cold and grainy in my hands until I come across what feels like a skull. I run my fingers along the teeth and realize some of them are sharp and pointed. Tossing it aside, I crawl through the darkness, directionless, passing what I think is a narrow opening. All of the debris around me is stacked precariously. I know the wrong kind of movement could set off an avalanche, burying me alive. I hold my breath It slide on my back like a worm, wincing at the pressure on my rib. I pull myself through the small hole and my breathing becomes easier. I hear rocks grinding together and I know I have to keep moving. Something groans and a thunderous boom follows, shaking the small hole I just came through. My hand shovels through loose stone, using more muscle than intended. Loose rocks tumbles down, entrapping my arm. Jarring pain shoots the course of my ribs. My teeth clench, but I let no sound escape my lips. The thundering settles behind me, and all goes quiet. The sound of moaning breaks through the dull silence. It reminds me of the aqueducts when I first entered the bowels of the ruins. I hear not one, but many, and the noise becomes louder and louder. How fitting all this is, trapped among the dead like a piece of meat. There is flickering light in the distance, not yellow and orange like flames of fire, but white. Hope ignites my veins. Diana! I call out, reaching with my free hand, realizing what I've just done. My voice echoes off the wall, off the rocks, like a man fallen down a well. The undead moans intensify. I pull at my arm to break free, but it's stuck fast. Come on, I say to myself, pushing rocks aside and kicking with my leg. Suddenly the light comes to me as if listening to my thoughts, swirling before my face, allowing me to see better. I keep pulling. Inches from my face, the head of a lecher snaps its mouth at me, teeth rubbing together, sinewy tendons exposed. It cannot move any other part of its body. Worms wiggle from its hollow nose, and its film-covered eyes roll around with purpose. It makes hissing sounds with its mouth. I strain my neck to look ahead of me. There are more of them, trapped and stuck like this one, buried under rubble. Their bodies are arrested. They see me and moan uncontrollably. I've been buried alive. The light continues to taunt me, dancing around my face, teasing me like a trapped animal. Then, one by one, it passes the cadaver heads, causing their white eyes to follow the light. I try again with my arm, and this time it comes loose. I begin crawling after the light, passing rotten teeth and groans. The lechers are not happy. Their meal is getting away. Adrenaline pumping, I do not notice the pain in my side anymore. I am focused on my target, the twirling light. Dust swirls off me as I emerge from the rubble, like a ghost. I stagger through the dim light of my new surroundings. A place of natural stone and stalagmites. They are immense in size, with smooth formations. From their tips, water drips up instead of down, hitting the low ceiling. Moving water is near. I hear it. I stagger a few paces and collapse at the edge of an underground stream. My throat screams for water, but I dare not drink. I can only think this water source stems from the Faust River. I remember what happened the last time it entered my veins. The hallucinogenic powers, the insanity, the price to pay to quench one's thirst. The water looks cool to the touch, and I want to dip my burnt hand in the water. I know I can't, though. The water affects even open wounds. I dare not chance becoming a victim again. I need every ounce of awareness intact if I'm to survive. I realize the will-o'-the-wisp has vanished from sight, yet the room remains lit. The light is dim, and the color has changed, white to yellow. I take a few moments to collect myself. Where I am in this vast subterranean world, I do not know. Glancing at the river, it ends abruptly, disappearing into the cavern wall. I wonder how far the system travels underground. My eyes settle on a cave opening, concealed by stalagmites. The yellowish glow seems to be coming from there. I slip through the stalagmites with caution. What sort of thing would be waiting for me? I am not sure. Glaring around the corner, there is a passage snaking back and forth. The light is much brighter here, and the walls glisten with sweat. A strong scent of burning meat lingers in the air, but not of the favorable kind. The smell is pungent and musty, like that of a forest ferret. Although the air is thick with the smell of cooking game, I feel like I am surrounded by something. I creep along, gagging, attempting to keep my composure. It becomes increasingly difficult as I get closer and closer, swallowing back the bile in my throat. Through the fiery light, I make out a human-like figure, hunched over an open flame, sitting on a large stone. Long, straggly hair falls down its back in clumps, dirty and filthy. Next to it, a long piece of wood fashioned like a spear rests against its thigh. All around the floor lie dead rats, a dozen or so, mutilated, shredded by something vicious. It's what's over the fire pit cooking that emits the foul odor, a large haunch of meat from the bottom end of a furless, four-legged creature. My mind has me racing, thinking about the Daverhounds. The meaty exposed flesh spits in response to the flames, dripping its rancid juices. Whoever, whatever is tending to the meat, doesn't seem pleased. The man rubs his hands together, holding them out to the burning meat. "Never warm. Never," he says, pulling at his fingers one by one. "Never warm." His voice is solemn and sarcastic, as if nothing would impress him. After working his hands, he moves on to his wrists and elbows, inching closer to the fire. "And you," the man says, addressing the meat over the fire, "look foul and horrid." He stares at it for a moment, then reaches over, stripping off a piece of fleshy meat and shoves it into his mouth. There is a moment of silence. The meat sizzles and the fire crackles as I watch the man chew. Then he kneels over, clutching his abdomen. A moan escapes his lips as he turns on his side, vomiting over rocks and dead rats, grabbing onto what he can. The spear falls over, clattering against the floor, rolling away from his reach. I position myself closer, keeping to the shadows of the stalagmite formations. The man calls out. "Why? Why me?" he asks, holding his hands out before his face. They are pale and full of veins. I still cannot see his face entirely. "Why, God? What did I do?" Again the man is tormented, bending into the fetal position, writhing on the floor without control. I move in, positioning myself just beyond him, where he cannot see me, and raise the bawaka to the back of his neck. I wait for him to stop, retching his insides before addressing him. "Don't move," I say in a low tone. The man's body tenses from the flat of my blade touching his shoulder. "Turn around." He turns to me and his eyes widen, and yet so do mine. Pale complexion, dark gray eyes. I stare into the sunken face of Joachim.